Pete Sousa from the Pete Sousa Show and ESPN and all the various platforms has stayed with us. So there they are in the beautiful Rogue Studios. And guys, throughout this process, Pete, welcome in, and both you too, Scotty. Thanks for always love having both of you guys on.
Oh, it's great to be here, dude. I've been like dying to do this. And, the schedule doesn't permit as often as I'd like. But like I asked Scotty, I said, tell Mosley I'd love to hop on with him. I'm going to be in the studio for a few hours. So here we are.
Yeah. And Scotty likes it when I am in the studio, Pete, because I tend to, I don't know, I even become more animated. The excitement of having even one, even if just Lizzie's in the room, the excitement of having a bit of a studio audience. It's exciting. In fact, I'm going to do more shows. I'd like to put some seating, more couches, and maybe some, what do you call those, stands or a stanchion, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Bleachers. I'd like to have some bleachers in the studios, and people could come in there and be a part of the Mosley Show or the Sousa Show. Yeah.
Now, Matt, that means we either need to install said bleachers at your house, or you've got to actually come to work and come into the Rogue Studios with us sometimes.
I don't think that's fair that he says you have to come to work. Like you're not working right now.
I did not like that.
Mosley knows I'm joking, Pete.
Yeah.
I did not like that. I didn't turn up. Yeah. Yesterday, and I thought maybe it's just the breaking news nature of this. And I can't remember. There was just a lot going on. And I was getting crazy hot. And I'm like, what's going on? Am I getting the sweats? And then I realized this is that time of year. And everybody does it in their home where it's like 65 or 70 or whatever. And it's weird time. And then sometimes it'll get cold at night. And so I try to take advantage of it and turn no air or heat on. I'm just saving money in the house. And then I realized it had gotten a little warm yesterday. I mean, Scotty doesn't know it, Pete, but he almost lost me. I was like, dang, am I about to pass out? What's happening? I usually can react to breaking news okay. Why am I getting so worked up? But anyway, I was just sweating. And I had to do blood work a couple of days ago for my physical. And that drives me. I once there at one of the cinemas in Waco that Scotty would know, right down Valley Mills. There used to be a couple of, not the 14 Galaxy, that was a newer one, but there was an old one down on Bosque or maybe Lake Air. There were a couple of theaters there. There was one theater in particular, and I saw Bram Stoker's Dracula. They called him Dracula. And I can't remember who was in that. Maybe I don't know. I don't know who was in that movie, but there was a blood transfusion scene, and my buddies looked over. And I was passed out in the theater.
Really?
I was just killed over, just out. I turned completely white. Yeah, I'm not. I don't do well.
Keanu Reeves was in that. Keanu Reeves was in that.
Did a good job in that.
Yeah, okay.
Did a good job. I thought one of his top roles. He's known more for the stuff with Lawrence Fishburne and all that stuff. But I thought the replacement.
It's called The Matrix. Yeah.
I thought he did. That's right. When you're over 50, Scotty, you just described.
Hey, listen, that's one of my dad's favorite movies, and he's in his 60s.
Oh my gosh, he is advanced age. No, your dad. I bet he's a very spry man. Pete, it's fun anytime I can have you, and so you got to watch it with me because, of course, then I'm so excited to have you, but then I end up talking the entire time. So I do want to interact and get a few thoughts for you. Nothing really new on all of us, I would say combined. Let's do it. Let's do an estimate. Sure. How many combined text messages or calls? Because this has warranted, most of my buddies usually just text me. We don't do the social. We're not trying to snap or, do any kind of Facebook instant. It's all text, right? Or group text. I'm on some group text. How many, between the three of us, how many calls / text messages? Because Pete, you've been in Central Texas for a good long while now. And so you have a lot of great friends here. And then you also have people outside that know your connections with Baylor. If I had to guess, I bet we've received over 100 text messages combined, the three of us, or calls on this Mack Rhoades Baylor story.
I agree. I think you're first, Scotty's second, and I'm third.
If you're talking individual text, I've received over 100 myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If you're just talking like conversations, it's obviously significantly less. But I've swapped a lot of text.
And I'll tell you, for me, as somebody who works now at Rogue Media and does Big 12 and ESPN stuff, but was on the local news in this market, I've had people texting me with actual people, just like you have, Matt and Scotty too, providing me information more so than asking.
Yep.
Which I find interesting.
I have this one guy that's pretty, he's very much high ranking, not in administration, but just a Baylor type person. And this drives me nuts. And boy, Pete, you know about this in the reporting game when you're trying to get stories and all. The thing that drives you nuts is the people, the way it works is, for people that don't know, you sort of have to give some information sometimes to get information. You can't just always call people like, tell me give me the scoop. People like to have you bring them some information, and then they'll in turn give. What drives me nuts, and I've got a buddy like this, and he's like and he's awesome. He's a great friend, but he's like, what are you hearing on this? Blah, 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 blah. And I'll kind of, here's what I'm hearing. Here's what's going on. And then he won't give me anything. He's like, well, I can't say. I know, but I can't say. I'm like, that's not how it works. This is a two-way street here. And so it's been, but personally, I have to say, Pete, you've seen over the years, and Scotty, you too, I've had Mack on a ton. I said this yesterday. He used to go on with Smokey and him weekly. I always thought that was too much. Like, do I really need to have the AD on every single week? That seemed like too much. But whenever I needed him, he was there. It's been weird this fall to not be able to get him on. And I've wondered, I'm like, what is going on? This is so strange. And now I kind of have a better feel for maybe why that was happening. Now, I was led to believe it was because of some stupid tweet I put out that made some people at administration mad. And yes, Scotty, I get on to you sometimes, not that much, but I do kind of give you feedback occasionally. I had to get on to Cam. Drake was beyond hope because, there are repercussions with some of the tweets we put out, some of the things, and that's okay. That's okay. That's the way it works. You can't just, and I tried to have this conversation with Drake back in the day, you can't just rip somebody constantly and not think that there might be repercussions from that. So anyway, but now that, yes. But now that we know, it's like, no, they were keeping Mack from talking because they knew. And again, I'm not even saying they were hiding anything. I don't think I would have been racing out there with this trig news like, hey, let's tell everybody that our AD went after a player before a game and after a game. But I think, and Pete, I want to bounce this off of you, and then I want to hear your thought on this. I think that's what's going to get Mack, sadly. That's what I think it's going to be almost impossible to come back from, is that I think whatever transgression, and we're hearing he violated something that goes against Baylor's Christian principles and whatever in the handbook. And I think most of us kind of can start to let our imaginations and even our reporting know what that might be. I think Baylor's enough of hopefully grace is still a part of what they do. I think alone he might be able to survive on some kind of transgression that didn't involve a Baylor employee or student athlete or something like that. I think the problem for Mack is you've got the trig, you've got the coach. That all happened in one episode. Now you got the allegations of alleged verbal abuse in the workplace, and then you're out. And you're out on this leave of absence, Pete, when Baylor's got all these huge decisions to make. You have a coach that may get fired. And as I said yesterday, and I think Scotty kind of agreed, and I think you guys had hit on it too yesterday, I think the way I phrased it is Dave Aranda caught a break here. Dave Aranda absolutely has caught a break. And maybe he was going to save himself and they were going to win 3 games or something. But it really is hard to find a scenario now where President Livingstone just goes, well, I'm going to fire him. while we're have interim ADs and while we're also launching an AD search, it does not seem like the prudent thing to do is to fire a head coach now. Pete, now that you've had, and I know you've talked about this on your show today too, but you've had like 24 hours or 48 hours to let this marinate, think through this. Do you see any scenario where Mack Rhoades survives this?
Man, it took you a while, but of course you finished with a great question. Because that's a great question. I mean, and I said it yesterday, and you know how I am. I hate saying this, but yeah, I don't really think so. If I had to guess, this 4-week scenario is lawyers getting involved and sorting out, because we're talking about a lot of money, re-upped for 10 years in 2022, reportedly at more than $3 million a year. Like, you got to get a lot of cooks in the kitchen to sort all that out. And you know that Baylor will do right by him. But as far as someone who's going to lead your university's athletic department, it's hard, man. And I hate this for Mack. I really liked Mack, and he and folks at Baylor were instrumental to my career kind of reaching another level. So this whole situation stinks, like you said, Matt. I mean, it's just not. It's close to home for a lot of us, and I don't see him surviving this, though. I don't. Yeah. I do see for him the opportunity for getting away, getting things in order, and then reemerging somewhere else, and flourishing in another chapter. But I would think his work at Baylor is finished. And I'll say this too. I mentioned this on my show today, Matt. I went through a whole laundry list of reasons why. Once you get away from this dark cloud that is over your university right now, you look at Mack Rhoades, and I'm not at all authoring an obituary here. I'm responding to a question. But if he were to be finished, he left this athletic department in way better shape than he found it, like way better. So I think you can look at that, and I don't know if you want to find some kind of silver lining. I'm sure Mack's not looking for that right now, but maybe as a Baylor fan, you can look at the body of work and say, you know what? He certainly did a hell of a job. But he missed on some stuff like all athletic directors do. But I mean, there's, you got 2 national titles, right? Men's and women's basketball. He had to navigate a lot of the drama with Kim. God bless her. But like, he did that. He kept Scott Drew here when I don't think there were many athletic directors in the world who could have pulled that off. I really think Mack was instrumental in that. I think the work he did to find Nikki Collin on the back end of letting Kim kind of move on in a different direction was super special. But a lot of
people hold that against him, by the way. I mean, the fact that not the Collin. I mean, I love Nikki. I've got no issue there. I'm saying the fact that, a legendary, unbelievable 3-time winning national championship coach was allowed to walk, and was not just allowed to walk. He was absolutely ready for her to walk. I just want to point out that I think that would be considered by a lot of people a black mark against what he did at Baylor. But anyway,
and maybe you're right about that. Maybe he's making that amount of money it's his job to find a way to make that work. But man, there were a lot of folks on the inside who were ready for that change to take place. And I'm not like breaking any news there. And the hiring of Matt Rhule was critical to resurrecting not only the football program, but the athletic department in general. And then, the Mack hire goes to Dave. You can say what you want about Dave, but you get another Big 12. You get actually a Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl victory. So he's left this place better than he found it. And
that's a bad. Yeah. Aranda looks like a bad hire at this point, though. Would you not agree with that?
I don't think he was a bad hire. I think that the decision should have been made a year and a half ago to probably part ways. I think it was a good hire, but I think when it was time to go, Mack didn't say, okay, you can go. And this is where I think that, Matt, some of the interesting behavior starts to present itself, where it's like Dave comes with a binder, presents it to Mack. Hey, here's what I'll do if you let me stay. And then what kind of deal did Dave make with Mack that, okay, if you stay, you've got this kind of unlimited access? Because, you could, I'm not over here like I invented football, but I've been around it for a long time. An athletic director in the middle of a offense as they get ready to take the field in a nationally televised college football game on a major level like that, where he can put his hands on a player, is unheard of. So that there's a lot of peculiar stuff that started. I think probably longer than, because, and I always say this, there's the people who really know what's going on are the people inside that building right now. Yeah, there are some, there's some sources and some people come up with some stuff and folks like you, but like at the end of the day, we don't really even know everything that's going on. We'll find out, and that was my issue. One more thing, and I give you credit for this, Mosley, because we were talking this morning. The local media has failed. I believe has failed this market and folks that follow Baylor. And here's what I mean. Like, you and I are not, I've never been in the news breaking business. I never pretended like I was. I love to react to the news, but I love breaking news coverage. And I think it behooves us to get coverage out of our local media resources. You were always good at that. Like, you could take Scott or Mac or somebody to task and maybe they get pissed, but you're an example of, if you do your job, you're not persona non grata. It's a back and forth. I think a lot of folks tiptoed around this issue and situation locally here, where there should have been stories written or TV stories aired that maybe it's a lack of resources or experience or talent or whatever, but we didn't get that. This was a huge story last Friday, and Baylor, to their credit, was transparent and said everything that was going on. That was so strange when that Michael Trigg stuff actually broke. The fact that we didn't hear anything else about that until another complaint was filed and that was surfaced, like through Ross Dellinger, is I think it's a bummer for folks that follow Baylor. I think the local media and media around the school needs to do better. And I don't think it's a viable excuse to say, well, if somebody were to break this story, Baylor wouldn't allow them back in or to cover the team. That is not true. Those folks over there at Baylor do a great job, in my opinion, the PR people, that you would be allowed credentialed access so long as you're fair, like you've been in the past.
Yeah, I mean, the access, I can defend them a little bit in the department of, I don't really want to get into the whole media thing, but it's interesting because you've been in the local media and you've watched it. And
10 years ago, Matt, that story is broken.
Oh, 10, I know, but
ago,
it's just
broken by a local media.
Even like Todd Archer, who covers the team so great, like the Cowboys, it's always like Schefter or the local great coverage of the NBA teams in the league you were in. It's always like, shams, even though these people are constantly covering the team. Unfortunately, sadly, beat writing now is about, for young beat writers, and it used to not be like this. Like, I'll tell you, when I got the greatest stuff ever is because Parcells' coaches hated him so much, his assistant coaches, and they weren't allowed to talk. And so who are they going to talk to? Well, they were going to find a reporter at some point. Now, that was when I was really young, and I was very, very aggressive. And I used to be too aggressive. I would show up at press conference, and I would joust, and I was a little bit, and that's honestly, I give Drake a hard time. But like, one thing I always praise Drake on, he made some mistakes, but at age 22, he was showing up at press conference, like trying to like go at people. Now, the problem was he probably wasn't. When you go at people and you're willing to ask questions and you kind of have that fearless way about you, you then have to show up at everything else and give those people a chance to come back at you. And that's part of reporting and all. But again, I would say the access these days is so bad. Like, for instance, it was way easier because like I could talk to Art or Rule or any of these people. Obviously, Scott and I have a great long relationship. Like Dave, that's one of Dave's issues. He's cut himself off from so many people. But anyway, that's a whole nother issue. I
think that's more Dave, though, than the athletic department.
Yes, but where they failed Dave is by coddling him too much. And like the previous, and it's not even, I'm not even saying the PR people really, it's people even above them. Okay, that make the policies. Dave has been coddled. There was one of my buddies that was PR. Taylor Bryan was on the football, and like Dave was trying to be all squirrely, and like Taylor would be like, no, you got to do Mosley. You got to do. I mean, some of this is selfish. Some of this is totally selfish by me. For years, I got the guy, and then maybe Smokey would get him, and then we started had to trade off each week, and then it just got worse and worse until the point where literally there was a decision Dave made one time. Dave Rando's like, I just would rather talk to J-Mo. Could I talk to J-Mo rather than Mosley? And which they should have said, no, do your job, do your radio. This is the flagship radio. We shouldn't be telling them who gets to interview you. But again, they bent over backwards to try to help this guy, and they will continue to do so. Okay, a lot of ground to cover right there. Boy, I appreciate this, Pete. I got to look at my time here. I've kept you already too long. Last thing here, we got to turn. I mean, at some point, this is going to go on, I'm afraid, like you said. I think
there's a game Saturday at 6:00, and it's against the 13th ranked team in the country.
I know, but it's just it is. We've had things like this in the past, and Scotty brought it up, and it was a good point that he made yesterday. Those of us that lived through the scandal, remember, like, even when you would come to a Baylor game that next season, and they had all those Brile staffers. There was a shadow over everything. And tomorrow night is going to be the same way. There's going to be the shadow. Now, maybe this coaches, and this is the silver lining part, Pete. This is where I lead it right back into where your mind goes, which I love, by the way, because you kind of find some silver linings and stuff. And I like that about you. I think one of Dave Aranda's superpowers is that he really he can be everybody out there, fire Dave. They could be marching at the stadium, and he would kind of show up and go, hey, guys, what's going on? What's there, something going on out here? Right? And
he is all about ball. He is 100% focused on that.
And so he really has probably been in a bunker. And in terms of like us, like, what's Dellinger said? What has this person said? What's this person tweeted? What's Mosley and Pete saying? What's Scotty saying? No. He doesn't get sucked into that at all. So there'll be a game plan. Now, the thing is, as you know, and you talk to the voice of the Utes.
Yeah.
Some of the things that Utah does well is the quarterback can run. He's athletic. They can run the football. They're not big shot plays, explosive plays, but they will move that ball down the field, and they will score some points on you. So while they only have one, count them one, top 35 win this season. This is a really, really good football team with a great coach. Do I think they're going to come in here and wipe up the Bears? Maybe not. Maybe the Bears can make this thing interesting. What's your gut telling you as we get closer to kickoff here?
Well, real quickly, just from somebody from 30,000 feet that didn't go to Baylor and doesn't have the same like blood ties that you guys have, I don't think that this is that. Like, I don't think that I think that this incident, and I'm not saying that you're inferring, but I do want to state, like, I don't think that this incident, what's going on right now with Baylor and their athletic department, is anywhere near close to what happened, 10, 12 years ago.
No. Pete, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but the same atmosphere is going to be at this game. All of the Baylor people are only thinking about this crazy Mack thing. They're not thinking about.
And by the way, it doesn't help that the atmosphere at the previous two home games was the fire the coach atmosphere.
It's for one game. It's for one game and maybe another, but it's not going to hang over like to next season. That's my feeling, and I'm sure it might be yours too. I can't speak to you for you. As far as the game is concerned, look. Utah's really good. I mean, they're analytically, they're the second or they're the best two-loss team in the country. And offensively up front, the thing about what Baylor cannot afford to do, and that's why the UCF game was encouraging, was that they got off to a fast start. They can't get down early to this Utah team because, they call that, the Wasatch Mountains. Well, they call their offensive line the Wasatch Front because their left tackle is going to be a first-round pick. The right tackle is going to be a top 10 pick, the kid Spencer Fano. And if you get down to Utah, they're just going to run the ball and not like purposely melt the clock, but they are built for this time of year to win and now we're talking a little more NFL, right, with the playoffs, but to win in November, December, like they could win a rock fight against a lot of teams around college football. So Baylor does not want to get behind Utah because as good as Sawyer Robertson is, and let's not go to sleep on him, by the way. It's not like Sawyer Robertson has entered some chamber where he's not the dynamic guy that, we were so excited about to start the year. So I still expect him to possibly set off some fireworks, but he's going to have to do it against the best passing defense, I think, in the Big 12 and one of the best passing defenses in the country. So Baylor cannot afford to get behind against these guys because I think that could spell disaster. But if it's at the end of the fourth quarter or first quarter and it's 7-7 or maybe Baylor's up 10-7, I think they're right there. This is definitely a doable thing. Like when you look around the conference, Texas Tech is favored by 23.5 points at home against UCF. This is not that. Baylor's a 7.5 point underdog. They can win this football game.
Very okay. I'm starting to. I think as I get there and we start getting on TV and we do the thing, I'm going to get more into the game and all of that. And we're not going to make the green and gold game day about all this Mack stuff. I mean, we can't. That would be weird to do a pregame show on all this other and stuff. And it gets more and more. I just hate. I hate it. I hate it where it's headed, and I hate it that this guy's career is probably over. Pete, your day has come to an end at Rogue. But
by
man,
the way, I don't think his career's over. I think he's got to. This is a turning point for this guy as a man. Whatever is going on with him, he's got a little mea culpa, whatever. Look in the mirror, make some changes, and there's a second act for Mack Rhoades, but he's going to have to make some. There's going to have to be some heavy lifting done. I don't think his career's over.
Yeah, maybe as a consultant or something, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's not going to be back in I don't think anybody would hire him to be an AD after this. I mean, it's just this is
out there.
I know, and maybe Liberty if Liberty opens up.
Man.
There is precedent.
Yeah, there is precedent. Yeah.
That's right. Maybe he'll live. Although, yeah, okay. Pete, thank you, man, and I hope. I can't wait to kind of see what your basketball schedule looks like. They'll get you back up there.
Sunday, Mississippi State, Iowa State in Sioux Falls. Iowa State is good. Very good.
Oh, how is that venue? Was that fun? Was that a pretty neat place? Cool. The Pentagon or whatever it's called? Yeah.
Yeah, old school feel. Looks like the Hoosiers gym, but it was built in 2013. So it's got all the amenities. Super cool. It was jam-packed, standing room only. I was lucky to be there, but Mississippi State was not lucky. Their best player, one of their best players was out, and they got I hate this term, but they got boat raced. Iowa State's good. Iowa State's defense is awesome. Yeah.
By the way, I was thinking about something you said about the journalism coverage of this thing. Somebody, Pete and Scotty, on that field that night with Trigg was sitting there giving out kick, and it's good reporting. I mean, they did a good job. But I mean, blow by blow, and of course, Baylor didn't dispute any of it. When Baylor didn't push back on that report, you're like, dang it, they got him.
I said that on your show yesterday, and I thought that was illuminating, that Baylor did not challenge anything that has been anything in that report, which again is kind of a credit to Baylor. They're not they kind of know how to navigate.
Yeah. Although the only thing negative I'll say, their first instinct was to try to make Mack, it's like maybe they were able to review the video. Somebody's first instinct after all that happened in that deal was to try to make Trigg go apologize to Mack. I did not like that at all. Somebody brought it to their attention and they looked at it and it was they maybe saw the whole thing and were like, okay, no, Mack should be apologizing. But I did not like that initial feeling from whoever was down, and anyway, I've tried to, kind of even talk to people that were down there. Can you imagine a coach putting your hands on as you said, that's right there. I mean, this other stuff, listen, if this other stuff that we're hearing about happened at Texas or Texas A&M, as long as it wasn't somebody on campus or a subordinate, somebody that reports to them or a student athlete or something like that, man, that would not be a thing. Yeah. But now, so on that one, somebody did turn Mack in, right? Somebody, once this Trig thing happened, and more people, Mack gets a big target on him, and somebody from the outside or maybe from the inside said, "Hey, by the way, guess what Mack's been up to?" That was called into Baylor, and then Baylor is like, "What are they going to do? Like, we're going to ignore this?" No, you can't. You can't. Okay, they've been down that road before. Scotty brought that up yesterday. Okay, Pete. Sorry, I really love having you.
Yeah, great to be here.
So I tried to grab you. Okay, have a tremendous rest of your day. Okay, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Okay. Pete Sousa, a man who, if you don't get out of if you don't leave the studio, you never know. You may have Mosley try to wrangle you in, and very, very kind of him to spend some time with Scotty and me on this Friday, on this busy Friday. Okay, Scotty, let's you and I do some Campus Confidential. We'll talk about a few games and get folks ready for the weekend on this special early edition of the Matt Mosley Show. Right here at Rogue Media Network. Remember, if you're watching us on Twitter, which yesterday, numbers were really starting to soar out there on Twitter, we want to remind you to go over and sign up for the YouTube channel. In fact, that number is kind of creeping up there, and I like to see it. I'm gonna learn some of Pete's. Pete knows how to drive the numbers of the Pete Sousa Show. We'll try to do that over here on the Mosley Show, but we appreciate all the people who've been with us, especially during this chaotic time in Baylor athletics.